Hey guys, it's Matt. This is chapter 45 of the still unnamed reality book. Think we'll do 4 or 5 questions here today, then probably another 4 or so in the next chapter. I'm not sure there are any questions after that. There might be a few that pop up that I forgot to put. There, at the most, will be 3 more of these chapter presentations before the half page. Well, it's a little more than that, but what do we do after the half page? I have no idea. But the Not Milk will, I guarantee the Not Milk will feed us a lot of shit to talk about. It's an endless well of nonsense. Question 1. Is there a real devil or a real Satan? In my opinion, there is no literal devil here. I may joke and say, you poor devils, but I'm not relating that to the literal definition or the Christian definition of Satan and a devil. I don't personally believe in it. I think almost everything of tremendous importance, as it's presented in this reality system, is an allegory, metaphor, or simply has a layered meaning that requires more than a first-level interpretation. This world, to me, is not literal. Its endless synchronicities, absurd events, number presentations, which is gematria, show us this place, to me, is a crafted illusion. The fact that they can't understand the very large. What's on the other side of an expanding universe? They can't understand the very small. What's smaller than a quark? What happens when we get smaller and smaller Russian nesting dolls? Then the item, article, or particle needs to be made up of itself, which is impossible. They don't understand the very large. They don't understand the very small. They never will. It's a crafted illusion of sorts. So, related to the theme of this question, why would I think the devil is anything other than part of what is a gigantic presentation to me? However, I understand a Christian's notion of Satan, and I mostly agree with it. What I call not milk acts very similar to the traditional notion of Lucifer or the devil. There's something very dark here trying to block us. That's clear to anybody that doesn't have their head up their ass. Is it correct to use the words spiritual battle taking place here? It absolutely is correct to use the term spiritual battle taking place here. That's essentially what's happening. We don't have many words to choose from that are accurate descriptors. English words were not meant to describe such things. To me, the characterization of Satan in the Christian tradition, the characterization of Satan in the Christian tradition makes sense because real people do have a spiritual enemy here. Know-it-all commenters will come forth, know-it-alls, and they'll say, Matt, you talk about this not milk thing, this dark thing here, no matter what you call it, is ourselves. I'm like, oh, I never realized that, talking about like the first rule of the Kabbalion, all is mind and consciousness came first. I never put that on the table. Thank you very much. Sure, I agree. It may be a reflection of ourselves. The dark thing here probably is. So what? Everything here is a reflection of ourselves to a degree, if consciousness came first, and all is mind. If you quote the first rule of the Kabbalion, people say, the Kabbalion's evil. I don't care if it's evil. I don't care where it came from. I like certain parts of it. As I said, if Satan was giving a lecture down at the park, I'd go listen. I feel I'd be big enough and adult enough to take away what I liked and ignore the rest. I agree, this place would not exist without consciousness coming first. Don't be a know-it-all and say, Matt, it's from you. I'm aware of that. What changes if the dark things spawn from our collective selves? What changed? Nothing. It's still something that has to be overcome. But Matt, doesn't it make you more confident that you actually can overcome it if it's somehow coming from you, spawned from our own nature, or at least the collective consciousness? No. I don't care where it came from. I have the confidence I can overcome it myself no matter what it is. Oh, it comes from me, so I have the power. If it comes from George H.W., I don't. Either way, I can overcome it. Who cares? But Matt, obviously, if the dark or the evil is in some way a reflection of ourselves or in some way you're responsible for it, then you can't go fight it directly. You have to then change yourself. Well, it's just a way of what I've been saying for a long time. That's all what the worry about yourself activities are all about. And I don't believe it's going to then immediately reflect back on society and we have a big kumbaya and everything's wonderful in the world. I believe there's an element here that's not, it might be put here by ourselves, our higher selves. I don't think it's completely a reflection of ourselves in this material or body as we exist now. It might be a reflection of our collective selves or higher selves, something much bigger than ourselves. To me, it's a role player. These assholes here are necessary role players in this place. So if I do the worry about myself activities and it's somehow all of us do it, which isn't going to happen because 99 point whatever percent of real people here are fooled, 99 point whatever percent of real people here are not like you and me. But if miraculously everybody that's real here had the realization that these dark creatures are somehow a reflection of myself, and everyone changed, and all the Britney Spears of the world and the dark figures started to just melt away, and we had a happy hunting grounds, perfect nirvana. I mean, I don't care either way. It would be nice if it could be changed out my window, but I'm not trying to change it. I'm trying to change myself. If changing myself reflects on society, wonderful. It's a side effect of changing myself. I don't really care if Britney Spears makes another album or not, and if I change myself, it reflects on Britney Spears' album sales. I don't care. It's a nice side effect if it happens. Worry about yourself. Obviously, is about changing yourself and doing what you came here into this incarnation to do. My belief is if everybody started to do it, again, we're just the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Most real people here are completely fooled. We'll bow down to the Oscars coming up. So I don't think there's enough people doing what we're attempting to do to actually reflect on the society. And if the dark part of society is a reflection of ourselves, I don't think there's enough people doing the type of work that we're trying to do for it to matter. But if everybody did it, that would be a nice side effect. All of a sudden, you look out your window and what's this? Governments are starting to work. What? For the people? What the heck? If it just started to completely change because we were changing ourselves, you know what? Wonderful. That's a wonderful side effect. But you know what? I don't care about changing it. I don't care one bit. I care about changing myself. The biggest trick that a truth researcher ever fell for, number one of all time, is we have to go fight it. We have to go put all the Hillary Clintons and Anthony Weiner mobiles in jail. And then we got to go identify the bad guy in the police lineup. That's why this reality puts forth so many bad guys, with Satan Lucifer, in my opinion, being one of those bad guys, just standing in the police lineup next to the Nephilim and the Archons and the Anunnaki and all the other bad guys that this reality has somehow cooked up. Well, Matt, that means a reflection of ourselves. Yes, it could be. I'm changing myself, so I don't care. Okay, let's not get too much in the weeds. The question was, Matt, in your opinion, does the real devil or Satan exist? And I said no. Okay, that's my opinion. Don't you have, what else you got? What other toppings you got, old man? You must got something else than this roundabout, convoluted argument. I got some simple stuff. Have I ever talked about something called the rule of opposites? The rule of opposites. It's never been broken. So what does the Catholic Church tell you and the Pope tell you? Oh, the devil, Satan. Oh, rule of opposites. It doesn't exist. What does the multi-billion-dollar gigantic religious infrastructure associated with the Catholic Church or other parts of the giant infrastructure that I don't like Joel Ovaltine, what do they tell you? Go to one of his lectures. Spend $4,000. Sit in the front row. Hi, Joel Ovaltine. Look over here at me. Am I on camera? He said, Satan or Lucifer. Then it means rule of opposites. Doesn't exist, or in some way it's a reflection of yourself. It's something dark here, but it's not what Joel Ovaltine says. Per the rule of opposites, I'm never going to take what the Pope says literally. Never. Is the Pope working for you or working for not Nilk? What does your inner knowing tell you? Not that I have to make a convincing argument to those listening. Come on, Matt. Don't waste our time. Your guy's driving a truck. What's this horse shit, Matt? Don't you know your whole audience? Well, there's going to be a few people. I know there are a few Catholics here. I don't understand it. There are a few Catholics here. Generally, we believe that he's working for not Nilk. not for us. A rule of opposites. If he, maybe it's double reverse secret probation psychology, Matt. He knows you're going to reject everything he says, Pope Francis. So he talks about it, knowing you'll reject it, but knowing it actually exists. That was confusing even to me. Forget about all that. Go back to the basic rule of opposites. What does the Catholic Church say? Well, I'll take the opposite. Then to me, the devil and Satan doesn't exist. It means something. It means something very important. It's just not literally what they say. And go back to what the Catholic Church has been putting forth for hundreds of years. The biggest fraud of all time in terms of one of its presentations is Dante's Inferno. What a coincidence, the Divine Comedy, it's called. Why would a whole section about Dante's journey into the underworld through the 9 pits or planes of hell, that don't seem like no comedy unless there's a little bit of a meaning in the title. The Divine Comedy, of which Dante's Inferno is part of it, used, of course, by the Catholic Church for hundreds of years to scare the absolute shit out of people. There's dark paintings about Dante's Inferno. They use that to say, you better believe in my billion-dollar infrastructure. You're going to... They used it. Dante Alighieri, thou art a villain. How much they pay you, Dante Alighieri? Dante Alighieri, is that the guy in the beginning of the Titanic trying to, Jack, we go to Mr. Bobo, we go with Jack. I think that's Dante Alighieri playing cards with Jack, and they had to run to the damn Titanic. Either that, or Dante Alighieri is the guy, who was Loretta waiting for in Moonstruck at the end, like, I prefer to be with my family right now, and this is Johnny. Not Johnny, this is Ronnie. She was going to be with Ronnie with the one hand. Who's at the door? Dante Alighieri's here. Johnny Camilleri, Dante Alighieri. It's the same damn thing. It's all not milk fraud. Dante Alighieri, if you actually, I know you're rolling around listening to me right now, if you wrote the Divine Comedy, and specifically Dante's Inferno, for the Catholic Church, specifically to scare the shit out of people, thou art a villain. Sorry, if you didn't get any of the last 10 minutes, is there really a devil or Satan? No. You should have just said that one sentence and move on. Okay, you're right. Next question. It's a very simple and quick one. What conspiracies are worth researching in 2024? At this point, none of them are. Once you back up far enough to see how unreal the world is and see that all of this could not have been pulled off by people in black vans, then should be done with the research. Once you see the master trick, you step out of the bog for good, and you're done with the bullshit yellow breadcrumb chase. Give up conspiracy research. If it's your hobby and you see it and you know it's a hobby and you're not going to be sucked in, man, I love the Tartaria videos. Man, I want to watch the Tartaria. If you see it as a hobby and you see it as part of the reality trick, fine. Just don't, if you get sucked in, if you feel yourself getting pulled, you better be able to get out of that gravity well. That fake black hole presentation will suck you into its gravity well. If you continue on certain topics because it's your hobby, fine. Just be careful, is all I'm saying. It's a master at pulling you back in. Do not underestimate this thing here that we study, this thing you seek, Clarice. It is an evil genius beyond anything we can comprehend. It generates conspiracy with more efficiency than ragweed creates pollen. The reality artificially creates conspiracy as bait to lure a certain type of real person back in front of its screen, so it can feed, so it can do its job, its duty here, to keep people off the path of understanding why they're here. Robert Frost. 2 paths diverged in a woods, and I took the fucking Knottnilk Highway that led straight to hell. That's what most people say. I didn't know that was part of the poem. It is part of the poem. 2 paths diverged in a yellow wood. See, that's pissed on breadcrumbs. And I took the Knottnilk Highway that led to a Knottnilk social media hell. That's what there's a few of us taking to me it's the road less taken or whatever. It's a Mandela effect, but you know what I mean. Who cares? The road less chosen, the path less taken, the path not pissed on. That's what only a few of us are doing. And for reality researchers, it has a customized yellow breadcrumb. Look at the conspiracy maps. We're not going to do this long because we've done this many times. The complexity of the conspiracy maps and all the thousands of different topics. No real world could do that, generate that much interest in so many different topics as many times as we've documented it. It's impossible. The conspiracy maps by themselves give reality away. Throw a dart into any topic, and what happens? You go to research it, there's just nothing there. You go to check it on the internet, and you can't find anything. No, it opens up every dart that lands on every topic opens up a whole door that wants you to enter, to walk into for years and years and years. And it will generate endless bullshit as long as your attention is focused on it. No real world could do that. When the world presents itself as obviously fake, it's the greatest news of all time to real people. Now, conspiracy research topics is its most potent weapon, spiritual or otherwise, against a certain class of individual, people like me and you, people like me, that are, quote, for lack of better words, waking up. Just another way of saying that see the world in a different light, that don't buy the CNN presentation in the news anymore, that question things. Oh, the conspiracy topics is its silver bullet for that tiny little group that starts to question. And it had limited means back in the 60s and 70s. It had World Book Encyclopedia and libraries. And you went in the library and you hunted. Jordan Maxwell used to tell stories of he used to do it, and I believe he probably did it when he was in his 30s and 40s and spent hours and hours in the library. And even then, the Not Nilk could take you down a path, could show you a book that would lead to more questions, that would lead to more research, and driving an hour and a half over to this library. It was a long, laborsome process. But think of what the Not Nilk has access to now with the internet. In just a few seconds, just a few clicks, it can hook you in, present white papers in PDF that'll get you distracted for hundreds and hundreds of hours just in a few clicks. When in the old days, it took hours and hours to drive to the rare books room in the Skokie library. So we'll end this question with a brief summary. Again, what was posed was, what conspiracies, now that it's 2024, are worth researching? And the answer for the most part was none of them, with one proviso. If there's an aspect of reality you believe can tell you about yourself, I think it's worth looking into. For example, if the rule of opposites just keeps coming and coming and coming, and to me, that proves fake reality. So many things prove fake reality to me. So many things give reality away. To me, that helps me understand what this place is for and my place in it. As reality breaks down and becomes less real, I become more real. You've heard me say that. When reality makes a clown of itself, to me or to real people, it's the best news of all time. So anything that you believe that can help you understand yourself, of course, I think is still worth looking at. Next question. Matt, in your opinion, what is the extent or the limit of the reality trick in terms of what it can or can't do? Can it only present its trick in a certain way informationally, or is there any chance it extends to the physical? Certainly, Matt, if there's real evidence that a building was surrounded in mud, then that is not a reality trick, Matt. The building was really surrounded in mud. You can see even the remnants of it today, and God forbid there's any windows below ground. I mean, that just gives the whole thing away right there. If you walk by one window below grade in New York City, that's mud. You just cry, mud flood. Hi, Jack. God forbid there's ever windows anywhere below ground. That's definitely the mud flood. My house is almost mud flooded because my basement windows are just above. I'll tell you a quick story, though. My friend Tony, okay, the house he originally lived in before he moved to the other part of King of Prussia, had windows. His house must have been mud flooded because the basement windows were like 2 feet underground. I don't know what you call it in the Northeast. Window wells, or it's a whole big metal thing dug, and the window is for the basement is below ground, but it's protected by this big metal half circle. Well, anyway, huge rain supposed to come the next day. He hired these guys to clean out his gutters, go up on the roof. Didn't hear much. Saw guys up there sitting down smoking cigarettes, though. He's like, what is going on? How much you want? $300. It was real expensive and everything. Anyway, the next day, the rains came. Went down basement to do laundry. Looked over at his basement window, which again is 2 feet below grade, in this metal window well thing. The entire window well was filled with water. So his window was like he was looking out of a submarine or something. This whole window was under water, like the scene in the Titanic when Rose was trying to cut the damn handcuffs off Jack, and you look out the window and they're already below under the water. And he's like, what? He couldn't believe it. Just all the weight of that water didn't smash in. He ran outside with a bucket in the pouring rain and was like bailing out the window well. Now, he figured, obviously what happened, his windows worked fine the week before. Those sons of bitches just they went to clean his gutters. They shoved they shoved leaves down his gutters and made it 100 times worse. He had to go clean it out himself. And he went to call him. He's like, no answer. I guess they leave town, the gutter cleaners. They went up there and all they did was make his gutters worse. But the point is, Tony's house, because those windows were below grade, 100% had to be mud flooded. Sorry, get back to the question. Does the reality trick extend to the physical? In my opinion, yes. So, Matt, well, that doesn't make any sense. There's proof of mud flood. There's proof of Tartaria. These megalithic sites. You can go to the Great Pyramid. You can go to all these sites with impossible architecture that nobody can understand how it was built. It's a heavy block, Matt. You could drop on your foot. That can't be part of the reality trick. If it's a heavy block that could be dropped on your foot, you go believe whatever you want to believe. I don't care if it's a heavy block. It's all part of the reality trick. A lot of people can't comprehend that, can't wrap their mind around it. Well, It's heavy. How could it be part of the reality trick? Well, think bigger. Who cares? It seems heavy to you. See, you're really smart, 22 mile to Davenport. You have these senses that take in less than 1% of all available information. So you hold it, you bang it against your ear, you hear it, you can see the block. You really smart. You take in not even 1% of all the available information. And because of that, you just can't wrap your head. These are heavy blocks. So that's something physical like mud flood can't be part of the reality trick. Believe whatever you want. I'm not ready to prepare or ready to give a gigantic treatise at that Oxford asshole lecture hall as to why I can justify that something physical can be part of the reality trick. But I do believe that. And we need to move on to the next question. If anybody wants me to do, if Harvard or Oxford will invite me to that damn stuffy room to give the lecture, I'll go. I'll tell a quick story related to this. It was something that Ken and I saw when we were at Penn State. We saw this movie where there was a squid that learned if it wrapped around the white pole, it would get a treat. If it wrapped around the black pole, forget the colors. I'm not making a color present. Just whatever. Make up any color you want. Wrapped around the black pole, then it got shocked. And even the squid that wasn't supposedly very smart would learn very quickly that it would get treats if it went to this color, or got shocked if it went to that color. So then I used that for years. Ken would never prepare for tests, and I would get on him. For example, when it was the test in this English lit class for the Iliad and the Odyssey, all he read, he didn't even read the Cliff's notes. It could be Cliff Notes now. It's Mandela effect, and I'm confused. He read the summary of the Cliff Notes, where I read the entire Iliad and the Odyssey. I got an A, he got a B. 1 grade less just for reading the summary page of the Cliff Note. I'm not joking, because he did the essay one. He did the essay part of the test. He just wrote a bunch of nonsense. He got a B, I got an A. I put in hundreds and hundreds of hours of work. He put in 10 minutes. But no. Anyway, so I'd say, Ken, that squid in the shock tank is smarter than you. I'd always get on him and say, don't be like that. I was going to say octopus in the shock tank. They're very, very smart. They're smarter than most humans. It was a squid of some kind, like a calamari in a shock tank. I say, Ken, that damn squid in a shock tank learns quicker than you. You'd still be figuring out what color was the treat and what color was the shock. So the point is very simple. If you're a truth researcher and you says very limited thinking, saying, because I can hold all the mud in my hands, it can't be part of the reality trick, then you the squid in the shock tank. Next question. Can real people like you and me decide to serve our adversary to become a minion? Or, for example, is a minion just a different type of entity, or an NPC, for example? In my opinion, yes. I think it happens all the time. I think what we call the minion class are not just NPCs, or not just what Tony called sequential incarnations, which in general, that incarnation is different than we are. I think real spiritual beings, the same entity, say that you and I are, serve it all the time and can go very high up, just not all the way to the top. They strive to go up that sick, demented pyramid. So it's nice if we could say it was all these high-level minions are all of that different type of entity, but how many? Look around at your friends and family. That's just a microcosm of how real people can be fooled at all different levels of the creepy org chart. Real people serve it all the time. And they get I don't think they can go all the way to the top, because I don't think they're the same as the real dark entities. For example, again, Tony talked about them as sequential incarnations. It's a different type of relationship with higher self. Something like Santa Claus Schwab, of the EU or whatever, or Santa Claus Schwab is that type of entity. A real person would rise up and maybe work right underneath Santa Claus Schwab, maybe not be able to go past that. But how many people are fooled into serving it? But we're talking about top minions. I mean, your family and friends are technically minions because they serve Not-Nilk in their belief system. They serve Not-Nilk. I'm talking about, a high-level minion. Can it be a real person, a real spiritual being? Unfortunately, I think it can be. Now, when this happens to a, quote, real person, and that means a spiritual being like you and me that has a connection that's outside of here, that is not of this place, not the same entity as a Melvin P. or a Santa Claus Schwab. When they do that, it's taking up residence, as you've heard me say, under the dragon's wing. Very humid condominium. What's the humidity level in this condo you've got for me? They say it's like a Borg level of humidity taking up residence under the dragon's wing. But when a real person chooses to do this, could be the representation of the age-old story of a deal with the devil, right? A deal with the devil is probably just another Humpty Dumpty or stuffed Lenin in this regard. May be referring to this very thing. A deal with the devil, somebody that has taken a job too high up the org chart, under the dragon's wing. Saying somebody did a deal with the devil doesn't make sense if it's not a real person or a real spiritual being that got too close to it or did the deal. Does it make sense that the NPC did a deal with the devil, the minion itself, or the different type of incarnation, that some sort of hybrid of Santa Claus Schwab did a deal with the devil? They are the devil. That wouldn't make sense. It only makes sense if it's a real person, somebody that got too close to it. And unfortunately, I don't know, look at all the people in Hollywood, all the people most, when they present themselves, you can tell they're different from you and me. So, for example, we talked recently, and I'm not going to do the imitation. We've talked about de Blasio with Shake Shack. We've talked about Governor Cuomo. Matt, I'm not doing the dia. No, I'm not doing the 10 bullets. I'm not doing it. That's not, look at that thing. It's not, you can just tell. Your inner knowing says it's not the same as you. So you can kind of tell, but sometimes, sometimes they are unfortunately, real people under the dragon's wing, unfortunately. So what I'm saying is, and typically we can identify them, but we don't always are able to identify them. So there's a chance that a creature like Ellen, there's a chance that something like George Clooney was once as real as you are, or is still real, but has just done that deal with the chief commander, as Bob Dylan said. There's a chance. I mean, we sense they're not the same as us, but can you believe it's remotely possible that Ellen could be the same as you? Let's just go with it. It's probably not the case, because our inner knowing just screams that's some foreign visitor from the color from outer space or something. But it's possible that real people are that high up and that far under its dragon's wing, so fooled that in some way the no consequences people wouldn't believe this, but they've doomed themselves by getting too close to it. Everyone in a movie or in a rock band is not necessarily a different spiritual entity than you and me. A lot of people bite the apple. Is that what that meant in Genesis 1? A lot of people bite the apple and take that high humidity condominium. Very, very happy to take it. Very happy to serve it. Consciously decide to serve the system. Can't force a real person to do it. They have to consciously decide to do it themselves. Remember that demon said, you have to let me in. I can't just force my way in. That's why it operates behind a trick. As we talked about, some creeps are pretty easy to spot as not being the same as you and me. Etherically or spiritually not the same. It's like a different entity. Take Kanye West, for example. What does your inner tuning fork or inner knowing tell you about what happened to that thing or what that thing is at the root level? Okay, yeah, me too. I'm bothered to think about it too. Let's move on. At this point, though, most real people here, at least in a small way, do serve the screen and serve the asshole dark. I mean, just look around at your friends and family. Per the expanded definition of minion, most of our friends and family are minions if you expand the definition, because they don't serve their own spiritual goals in life. They don't do any of the part to the work or the worry about yourself activities. Rather, everybody around me that I know is interested in serving its goals and its needs, feeding it energy. For example, I can still hear my aunt citing every directive from Dr. Fauci and believing in him, believing he's a great man, just trying to help. I mean, this is like a shallow house syndrome to me. When she looks over, my family looks over at certain people like Dr. Fauci, they see very friendly, nice people trying to help. Shallow house syndrome. When we look over, we see something that's like unrecognizable. We see something that makes Schmeagol and Gollum from Lord of the Rings look attractive. It's shallow house syndrome. Then the actor Jason, whatever from Seinfeld, who plays in Shallow Hal with Jack Black, he gets the code words to break the spell, or with visually, Hal can only see the inner beauty. So, the outer doesn't matter to him. He comes back from the bathroom. He's out with Rosemary eating. But Jason has called him and says, the code words from Tony Robbins, Shallow Hal wants a gal. That breaks the spell. So now he sees the physical the way it's really presented. He no longer sees the inner beauty as an outward representation of the physical. So then he says to the host and the maitre d', he says, who's that large woman in our booth eating my girlfriend's baked ziti? The host is like, saw them come in together, like, are you okay, honey? That's your girlfriend. Can we get a code word like that so we can say it to, like my aunt? So then she can look back at Dr. F, and then what will be presented is what we see, like the Crypt Keeper from that HBO series. We see reality. We see through the veil to a degree. That is a better way of putting it, where most of the people around us are fooled. They bow down before the trick. All this leads to the unavoidable question, though, is there a spiritual consequence for making that horrible choice of trying to get the high humidity condominium under the dragon's wing? If George Clooney was as real as you and me, is there a consequence for making certain choices and cozying up to it? Many of us, of course, believe there must be a consequence for a real person that chooses to serve it like that, like a dark Sith Lord. There's got to be a consequence, but there's another side to it. That you've heard me talk about the no consequences people. They don't think that a real spiritual being can be harmed at their core. Their essence can be degraded. Their spiritual essence can be degraded through making bad choices in this place. Tony, who talked about the sequential versus the simultaneous incarnation of higher self, a relationship with higher self, he was essentially a no consequences person. He essentially said, Matt, basically said the higher self can learn from assholes too. If the higher self has 100 simultaneous incarnations of itself in different reality systems or different times on Earth or whatever, he would basically say that they don't all need to be like you, Matt, the altruistic goody-goody trying to separate from all the dark and trying to do all the right things and improve yourself and do part two of the work and worry about yourself. I mean, Tony said the higher self can learn from assholes too. You could have Matt, you could have brothers, not brothers from another mother, you could have like brothers that are also simultaneous incarnations. Everyone else, let's say there's 100, you're one and 99 others are all assholes. The higher self can learn from assholes too. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. I kind of want to believe that there should be a consequence for cozying up under the dragon's wing. But the no consequences people, and Tony was one of them, saying, the higher self is more powerful than you possibly can imagine. And if some little aspect of it makes a poor choice, tries to be the paper boy for Alec Baldwin or something, it's not going to doom anybody. It's not going to doom you. Tony was that way, and the no consequences people are that way. The no consequences people say you would never enter or choose to incarnate into a reality where you could flush yourself or doom yourself or degrade yourself to a degree where there'd be no return, or you would never do it. You're more powerful than this reality system around you. And this is the opposite of the people that think we were tricked to come here. I mean, was there I don't want to stray. We have other questions to get to, but that should be a question. Were we tricked to come in here? Come on. Look around at how ridiculous the presentation is here and the minions like Alec Baldwin. What did he call her? He called her a dirty little pig or something like that. And Melvin, look how pathetic the trick is. They're so powerful here. We were these gigantic, all-powerful, etheric aspects of higher self. They tricked us to come in here. They say it was just like it was like Lefty in Sesame Street. Hey, bub. Psst. Hey, higher. He's talking to Lefty, who's like some associated with Melvin P. and the minions here, talking to your higher self, something like more powerful than you possibly can imagine. Psst. Hey, bub. You want to put an aspect of yourself into that reality we just created down there? It's really fun. It'll make you cool. Oh, okay. What do I have to do? Well, I can put myself in that reality system or an aspect. This is your higher self talking. I can put an aspect of myself in there, or I can buy your air in a bottle. No, Lefty goes, no, bub. I'll sell you the air in the bottle after I put an aspect of you into that Earth reality system. Oh, how do I go? And then, you trapped. We tricked your ass. Come on, man. Lefty is more sophisticated than these assholes like Melvin P. And you think you're trapped here and you were tricked to come here? Come on, sir. If you believe you were tricked to come in here or trapped, then that by default means that every bit of you is here or is in or around your body, is your soul or spirit is inside your body or 6 feet hovering behind your head, or the all of you, the whole of you is right here with you. What does your inner knowing tell you? Just pause for 5 seconds or for 5 minutes. Where are you right now? Who's sitting in a greasy bus stop in Newark, New Jersey, waiting for they still have Greyhounds out of Newark, New Jersey. You're trying to get down to Piscataway, New Jersey, or Schenectady, and who named these damn towns? Trenton makes sense. What Trenton, it's an old sign on the bridge from 100 years ago. What Trenton makes, the world takes. There ain't one manufacturing plant left in that city, I assure you, unless they're talking about moving drugs or something, or distribution of illegal narcotics or something. Trenton makes, they cook up some sort of white powder. The world takes. It's still in the damn bridge. They don't manufacture yo-yos there anymore. It's all to China. We'll talk about that some other time. So you in that bus stop, and it's all of you, every aspect of you, the spirit, soul, it's just right there in that slimy bus stop. I don't know. You can think whatever you want. I believe, the way Tony described this to me resonated with me. I'm an aspect of something else. Not that we're a little insignificant. It is you. You are it. We are one and the same. You ain't the little tiny little finger that doesn't care about. Maybe it abandoned me, Matt, in this reality system. It forgot it even put itself in here. Would you care really if you sloughed off a piece of callus and threw it on the ground? Maybe we the callus. No, Tony, you are it. It is you. 16 Candles, where he's putting Caroline in the car. Who's he? I'm him. Who are you? He's me. Do I think that's a real higher self truth drop? No, it could be. That's kind of how this reality operates. But no, okay. If you believe everything you are, if you believe all you are though is sitting around that bus stop, why do you even believe you're a spiritual, timeless being? I mean, okay. Whatever. To me, I'm an aspect of something bigger. There's no fucking way that I'm trapped here and I'm tricked to stay. There could be a trick to make one stay, but as above, so below. I see through the trick here, so I'm not worried about a trick there. Think of a sports team that trains, football, okay, at any level, a high school football team even has practices through the summer, and the offensive guards on the offensive line learn how to pull, and the running backs learn certain plays, and the defenses learn all this stuff, and there's weightlifting, there's a lot of training, and the high school football, of course, is taken too seriously. Then the first game, and it doesn't look anything like football. And it's like, what is going on? A badminton, there's nets out there. Like, what is all this shit on the field? We didn't train for this. So all that training and all the stuff they went through, the summer practices and learning how to block down, all for nothing. Because what's the real game is all that training doesn't translate at all. It's a bad example. Okay, fine, it's a bad example. Is that going to be the case with us? All we've seen through, all the work we've put in, all the veils we've dropped, all the tricks we can just see right through, none of it is applicable at the moment of death. I don't care what is... I see through the trick here. I don't care if there's a trick even. I've done the work. But to summarize this section and the question that was posed, we'll never know what happens to, quote, real people who willingly serve the not milk and willingly check themselves into that Eddie Sycamore Dragon's Wing condominium for pretty girls. We'll never know what if the consequences, no consequences, people. You know what? Doesn't matter to us. What about yourself? We're doing our own. I don't care what the guy down the road is doing. I don't care if George Clooney is a real spiritual being that got too far under the dragon's wing. George Clooney, screw you. Worry about yourself. Do the work for yourself. It's not selfish. We don't care if there are consequences because you know what? We're not making those bad choices. If there are consequences, well, maybe there are, but it doesn't affect me. I'm not making those bad choices. I'm not trying to cozy up to not milk. And if that sounds selfish to anybody, well, you know what? Everybody here could raise their hand. We tried to talk to people about these things. We tried to, quote, wake people up. For 5 to 10 years, we tried to talk to as many people as we could. And what happened to us? The boy that cried wolf times 1 billion is what happened to us. And we cast out. We tried. It's not selfish. We're not trying anymore. Worry about yourself. Last question for this chapter. In my opinion, what does Antichrist mean? Now, we did a video on this in 2023, so I'll be brief. It needs to be part of the book. Many Christian truthers are always looking out for the Antichrist. Like one day it'll run out of the forest and jump into a bag of Doritos. To me, Antichrist is not one thing, and I'll no longer capitalize the word in this book. To me, the Antichrist is not a creature that will pop out of a cake or take over the U.S. presidency like a Bad Omen movie sequel. To me, it's nothing that will announce itself and cannot be pointed at. The rule of opposites always applies. What media presents is what they want you to think it is. The Antichrist is a term, in my opinion, for what the system tries to devolve a real person into. Let me repeat that. Antichrist is not Nilk's goal. It is their goal. It is what it wants to devolve a real spiritual being into. The term says Antichrist. Doesn't say anti-Jesus Christ, does it? Doesn't say anti-Jesus. If you're a Christian truther listening to me, and I appreciate you being here, there are many here, one of the reasons I'm allowed to go here is the Bible's not clear on this. As usual in a lot of areas like this where we offer up our interpretation, it's not referenced very much. Where it is, it's vague. It can be inconsistent. It's not, if the Bible was crystal clear on what Antichrist is, well, I think that's probably more of an authority than me in terms of it's not clear. That's why I'm allowed to go here. The only thing that's clear is society and culture's interpretation of what Antichrist should mean to you according to Not Nilk society and culture. Society and culture, and Not Nilk is very clear on what it wants you to believe the Antichrist is, and that's what most Christians believe. They watch the Omen movie and that's what they will take in. They will actually, most Christians out in society that don't research what we research, they take in and they carry with them, in my opinion, society's notion of what movies tell you Antichrist should be. Now, is that possibly correct? Rule of opposites, right? If society wants me to believe it's this, well, then I know it's not that. If society and culture through media, movies, and TV shows and stories, etc., works really hard to get me to try to believe that 666 is the devil's number, rule of opposites, then I know 666 is not the devil's number. It's that simple. If Not Nilk systems are working hard to get me to believe something, I know it's not that. Rule that's never been broken. Therefore, the Antichrist to me is something that is anti the ideas of what is represented by the term Christ, anti-Christ. Or for some people that believe a certain thing, anti to what Christ means to you, or what Christ is to you, anti that. It can be a catch-all term. It doesn't have to be an exact term. We generally see what Not Nilk's trying to do with it. To me, the word structure of Antichrist has nothing to do with a man named Jesus. The way they use Antichrist, to me, has nothing to do with Jesus. I see that they work hard to get you to want to believe that. That's what they're working towards. So I know it's not that. To me, it's what they want to devolve me and you into. Therefore, if I, as a real spiritual being, do everything it says, follow every directive, bow down to whatever it says for me to bow down before, to love Dr. F., to whatever. I mean, I just do every single thing that this society and culture says for me to do, then I then would be Antichrist. Thanks for listening. Well, I guess we'll have one more chapter with questions and then the quote half page.